You ever notice how some players keep getting better, even when they're not the most talented, and others, the ones with all the talent, somehow stall? We love to say it's because of work ethic, but if that were true, every hardworking player would already be world class. So what's actually happening here? Maybe, and I know this might sound controversial, most players aren't stuck because of effort. They're stuck because of perspective. Because you can train for hours, follow every drill, copy every pro routine. But if you don't see football the right way, you're just recycling motion, not progress. Here's where it gets tricky. Most players mistake repetition for improvement. They think doing the same thing cleaner automatically means they're evolving. But football doesn't reward repetition. It rewards adaptation. And that's why potential is less about how much you train and more about how deeply you learn from what you train. Think about it. If you work on your first touch every day, but never notice why you lose control under pressure, are you improving or just building the same weakness stronger? That's the uncomfortable question most players never ask, because the answer usually hurts. Ever seen a player who's brilliant in training but invisible in matches? That's not a lack of confidence, that's a lack of connection. They've mastered the what to do, but never studied the when and why. It's like memorizing words in a language without ever speaking it. Looks fluent, but nothing. And here's where potential quietly hides, in awareness. Because the game isn't testing your drills, it's testing your decisions. Every mistake, every hesitation, every extra touch, those moments aren't random. They're reflections of how you think the game. But players rarely analyze that part. They'd rather find a new exercise than face the same pattern showing up again and again. Now, this is where it gets a little uncomfortable. Football culture romanticizes the grind. Train harder, stay late, repeat. Sounds noble, right? But effort without reflection can actually trap you. You become addicted to the feeling of working hard instead of the result of working smart. And the worst part? You'll convince yourself you're improving because fatigue feels like progress. So maybe unlocking potential isn't about adding more hours. Maybe it's about asking better questions. Like, why am I always choosing the safe pass? Or why do I stop moving after playing the ball? Those tiny questions open doors that training plans never do. Ever wonder why some players make everything look effortless? It's not magic. They've just built clarity, the kind that comes from noticing what others ignore. They've learned that potential doesn't appear out of nowhere. It reveals itself when the noise dies down, when the game slows down enough for you to see patterns. Here's the funny thing. Players often think potential is a fixed limit they're chasing, but in reality, it's a moving line that shifts every time you understand something new. It's not something you unlock once. It's something you constantly decode. Every game, every mistake, every uncomfortable review, that's part of the code. So maybe instead of asking, how do I reach my potential? The real question is, how much of my game have I actually understood? Because sometimes, the truth is simple. You can't unlock what you don't recognize. Let's get a little more controversial. Coaches and scouts, they don't just look for players with talent, they look for players who learn fast. Because fast learners adapt, and adaptation is the highest form of intelligence in football. It's what separates the player who repeats from the one who evolves. And here's something most players never hear. Potential doesn't vanish. It just waits behind your blind spots. Those moments you brush off, like not checking your shoulder or reacting a second late, those are the tiny details holding your progress hostage. You fix those, and suddenly the same skills look sharper, faster, smarter. You know what's ironic? Most players think they're playing it safe by avoiding mistakes. But in reality, they're avoiding growth. Because every error is a highlight reel of what your mind hasn't mastered yet. And if you can learn to study your mistakes instead of defending them, that's when football starts teaching you back. So yeah, Potential isn't locked inside you. It's reflected around you, in every decision you make on the pitch. The players who grow fastest aren't the ones with perfect routines. They're the ones who treat every touch, every missed pass, every bad run as information, not failure. And maybe that's the real secret. You don't need to find your potential. You just need to stop hiding from the parts of your game that already show you where it is. Because at the end of the day, football doesn't care how hard you try. It cares how clearly you see. And once you start seeing clearly, potential doesn't need unlocking. It just shows itself. If you're somewhere out there still figuring it out, that's fine. Football has a funny way of rewarding the ones who stay curious. So keep asking, keep observing, keep learning the game within the game. Your potential's already waiting for you. And I honestly hope one day you'll get to see it in full.